thank you so much, Olesia, for taking the time to talk to me in this very difficult situation. If we can just quickly give the viewers an idea of who you are, where you are at the moment, and how you are directly affected by the Ukraine invasion right now.
I was born and I grew up in Ukraine, Odessa. For my whole life, I've been living there, but I recently, half a year ago, I moved to Estonia for studying. In Ukraine, I've been volunteering a lot. I've been working with Peace Corps. I've been working in feminist organizations, and I was also, cooperating with worldwide feminist organizations, and also graduated from university. I have a journalism degree, and I was since 2014 started, since the war started, as many people say that, oh, the war started now. It's not true, because the war was there all along, and invasion was there. It's just that invasion progressed, but it's not like it's happened just now. For example, in Odessa, there were some major events concerning the war, but it was not like, yeah, we were living during gunshots and all that stuff, but it doesn't really matter, because it was still affecting lives of our people that we know, or close people, because they were going to war still.
Your parents are still in Ukraine. What's the situation for them over there?
Yeah, and my parents are in Ukraine, and I woke up on Thursday at 5 a.m. by a call of my father called me, and he said that they heard explosions. And Odessa was one of the first to face this situation, but still now for the past couple of days in Odessa, it was quiet. My parents, they make a good point, and for many other people, it's the same, that it's at some point it's much more dangerous to go on the roads and try to escape, because first of all there are Russian soldiers. Second of all, that if people are on a Russian riding fast, they can be it can be faced as a threat, because there are a lot of people who are, for example, they walking around in not in a uniform, but just in a civilian clothes, and they trying to help Russian army, and some of them are Russians who are dressing up as normal civilians. So you can be opposed as a threat. You can not intentionally act as a threat, or be just faced by soldiers and not make it to the border. Plus, some of the cities, such as Odessa, they are not as close to the border. So it's not like a couple hour rides. It's like 6, 8, sometimes more hours before you go to the border.
And I mean, I just want to talk about the position of women in this whole crossfire. I find ourselves to be in such a politically homeless situation where no matter what crisis, national or international crisis, women and children seem to be thrown into the whole mix of situation where men in positions of power are just fighting amongst themselves. But in the mix of this whole thing, women often end up being the victims of the whole situation where, like you mentioned, war hasn't started 2-3 days ago. There has been ominous news about such a potential danger happening, and women, particularly journalists, have constantly written about a potential threat like this, while the media is talking about the dangers of war and things like that. Could you specifically talk about the position of women in the crossfire?
Our women are really, really brave in the sense that they oppose Russian soldiers. They face them in a bravery, and it is hard for everyone, especially women and children. But everyone just in this course, they just united, and for example, in Kiev, there are military giving out guns to everyone who wants to protect themselves. And our government sending out I don't know if I can call it a recipe, but like instructions, more like how to make Molotov cocktails. So I'd say that in this situation, everyone just united, and there is a big threat to women and children, yes, but now we are standing strong and we are trying to protect ourselves as much as we can. We uniting with other women, with families uniting, and many women are there too as soldiers as well. And before that, there were a lot of women who were fighting on the territory of Luhansk and Donetsk for Ukraine. So for now, everyone's mobilized who is willing to and who wants to help and standing brave. And yeah.
Yeah. During COVID and even before that, Ukraine has this reputation of being a major contributor to the surrogacy industry. And now, in the past 2 3 days, we're noticing how Western countries, parents from Western countries are desperate to get the baby out of the country, leaving the women behind. In several ways, I notice how this can affect women very adversely, not necessarily about the danger of war or danger of being killed itself, but about all these other things which most people don't really think about. Just moments before the whole invasion happened, because they had money, brought the child back with them safely, but the mother is left behind. Things like that. It seems like an awful lot of price that women are having to pay right now.
I never saw any news about that, to be honest, because now it's all like every second there is like every other information happening about explosions and things like that. And in Ukraine, they don't really talk about it because, yeah, like children who are, for example, like children from surrogate mothers, who stay right now and cannot be transferred to parents, whatever, buyers. It's not, of course, or unfortunately, the main priority for them. And still, I feel like this is a good example of Western hypocrisy still. And yet we are very grateful for all the sanctions and for everything that other countries do for us and other government do for us. But it's still the fact that they just scared of the things that can happen after, if Ukraine is gonna be like the part of Russia, and if they're gonna be in a win position, what's gonna happen to them. And that's why they're so anxious about the things that they did with Ukraine, and now they can get it. This is the good example of it. This is the major hypocrisy that is happening too. I just want to say that I didn't ask no one personally, but I can say that by people who I've been talking to and by interviews I watched and everything, that no one really right now cares of like buyers or this kind of things. Everyone's just trying to save themselves, to hide in the bunkers, and it's not about business now, even not about money. It's just about surviving, and I don't think that really like many people think about this.
Yes, and unfortunately, that desperation that the country is facing right now works in the favor of all these wealthy people who are able to storm in and do what they want and get away with, when people are actually struggling to find a safe space to spend the night. There was even news of a baby being born in a underground shelter and things like that. Another thing I'm potentially fearing, and I'm sure even you are, about Eastern Europe's women being the prime target for trafficking and prostitution. Do you think there is going to be an enormous spike in the number of women that are going to be pushed into this whole industry of misogynistic exploitation?
We don't know how like for how long it's gonna last. We hope it's gonna be a week or two, a month, and then we all hope that Ukraine wins over it. And I personally think that's what's gonna happen. But it's still, yeah, if there's gonna be a major economical collapse in Ukraine, this is very likely that this is what's gonna happen. And of course, what I can predict that those who are profiting will be profiting from this. They're gonna frame it as if it's work or it's help or whatever. And I am fearful for that, of course, and I'm fearful for many other people, not only about prostitution and trafficking, but in the major picture, like people being forced to to gain money from any other illegal or dangerous source possible. But at this point, and I know that there are going to be a lot of speculation on that, they're going to be forced, unfortunately. And all I can do is to help. And because, for example, me and my colleagues here in Estonia founded an organization to help refugees, and we are now working on collaboration with other organizations here, and to have some sponsors and financing, and we're recruiting people as much as we can to help. So from my side, what I can do is to help women who want to live in European country, right? And I can only help with Estonia, unfortunately, for now. To help them find work, to help them deal with money situation and with accommodation, because we have people who can give their accommodations and like for free for some time, or maybe for a very long time. And Estonia now, they accept people without any documents, no passports, no nothing. Like if you're willing to come, if you want to and if you can. And they also said that you can stay as long as you want, and it's not confirmed yet, but I know it's planned to also give pensions for refugees so they can live through some time before they find work, and can gain some money. So we also planning, and it's also just in development, to go to the border and collect as many people as we can who are willing to live here in Estonia, and bring them here and help them out with everything. So yeah, that's from my side. That's all I can do is spread information and help.
Yeah.
With this crisis.
Yeah. Speaking of countries that are willing to help, could you point out all other countries that are also offering such similar situation where refugees are just unconditionally just welcomed into their countries?
Yeah, I know Ireland. I'm not sure about the documents. I think they still require you to have international passport, but they canceled visas for Ukrainians. Poland also, and many people now are in Poland, and they are already dealing with that. I think that Romania also is working on this, and they're also working on opening the borders, but I never found the confirmation of this information yet. So I believe that they're working on it. And for now, I think that from what I've seen, because I'm always like, I'm constantly on the news and I'm monitoring it, but I don't want to give any fake information. So I know that Baltic countries in general, Lithuania and Latvia, they're also working on it, but never found any confirmation about that. I only know for sure about Estonia. I was talking to police, and I know about Ireland, and I know about Poland. So yeah, those countries, they are welcoming people now.
Speaking about what people can do to directly help women and children over there, women's groups that are constantly, eagerly, desperately even trying to contact their sisters in Ukraine, trying to see if they can raise some money, things like that. Could you please give people some information, details of which I can also leave under the video, about what they can do to help monetarily and in any other way?
Of course, most of our money are going to the military, and even people, civilians, they're donating a lot to the military, and as well as food and medical supplies and everything they can. But I think I was thinking about it, and I think that the best thing, except for donating, and I'll send the links, of course, it's also forming any other NGOs, or maybe even like just the community, to raise any supplies that you can, and be in contact with because Ukrainian ministry, they can coordinate where and how people can send those to help not only military but civilians as well. It's everything. It's food. It's medical supplies, and for military as well, because civilians now are being mobilized. Pretty much everyone. So even civilian people, they still would need some protection for themselves, and it would be good for them to have.
I'm going to let you go by saying that I hope this madness will end very soon, and I hope we can do another conversation where we look back at this and talk about what heights of madness this was, and hope we'll be in a better situation at that time. So, Olesia, thank you so much for your time. And for those of you watching, I will leave a lot of information below this video. So please contribute generously towards the ongoing crisis that Ukrainian women are facing.